Welcome to the Jigsaw Podcast. Joining me tonight is Cheryl Crowder, who is the event director at Muncie Downtown Development Partnership. Cheryl, thank you for stopping by, talking with me.
Thank you for inviting me.
How are you doing tonight?
Oh, it was a beautiful drive out here. It was just lovely. So
Yeah, we do a little bit out in the country. It's nice to get some of the quietness out here.
it was pretty. It's a change from downtown for sure.
Wanted to have you on. Like I said, you're the event director at Muncie Downtown Development, and downtown's just changed so much over the last 10, 15 years. I'm sure you've been a big part of that. So I wanted people to hear your story, how you got involved with downtown, and also what events are coming up this year. So are you originally from the Muncie area?
I'm originally from Anderson, so almost the same thing, just a little bit up the road.
How'd you end up here in Muncie then?
Ball State was why I came to Muncie originally. And then I discovered downtown pretty early on during my classes at Ball State. I was working with a not-for-profit theater group who had agreed to strip all of the woodwork in the third floor of the Patterson building in exchange for a place to rehearse and do shows. So I went looking for them. And at that point in time, downtown was a pretty dark, desolate, deserted sort of place. I would not have wanted my daughter to go wandering downtown at 19 years old looking for a group of people to do theater with, but I did. And the Patterson building is where Ivy Tech is now, that big yellow building. At one point in time, it was just 2 ballrooms up on the third floor. And I had never been in a building of that age, like over 100 years old, and the beautiful handiwork that comes with that, the giant windows and tall ceilings and hardwood floors and old wallpaper and just the whole character of the whole thing. I kind of got the bug really early on with that. So I met my now ex-husband, but I ended up marrying him. Like, he was doing artwork in that building, and I just loved it. I fell in love with that building. I fell in love with downtown pretty much the first time I was down there.
Yeah, those old buildings downtown are beautiful, and the fact they're starting to do renovation projects and making them not only pretty but useful as well, I think it's really helped. Now, out of college, is that when you started working for downtown, or was there some jobs in between them?
Oh, there were jobs in between. I say that had I not had the training that I had doing random jobs that didn't really seem like they were going to lead anywhere, I don't know that I would be able to do the job that I do today. So I worked retail, I worked hospitality and service, I worked for FB Fogg, who was a paper maker. She actually had a really interesting kind of concept that went national. So she sold cow clocks, all kinds of clocks, weird things, jewelry, figures that were made out of handmade paper. I worked for her for several years and went through her growing phases from working at her house to renting a studio downtown to building a place. So I went through a lot of years with her. And then I did legal work. I had a plethora of
you've dabbled in a little
jobs. That's what a theater major will do for you.
Yeah. What all tasks did you do for her? Were you kind of her right hand person?
Well, I actually made art for sure was part of it. I started out glitzing jewelry, which means putting rhinestones on earrings 8 hours a day.
Oh, sounds tedious.
It was tedious, but it was it's like any kind of repetitive act that you do. You get better and better at it faster, and you find different ways to make it work. So, but then as she evolved, because she was a jewelry maker to begin with, she evolved into the paper figures to display the accessories. And then from that, she grew into all kinds of different avenues. She was doing large scale, like pillars and actual, like scenic kind of work, like set work. So I had a hand in actually creating stuff, but she also had a retail store, and I managed the retail space. I traveled with her to do art shows and trunk shows, and she eventually got into clothing. She was a really multifaceted business owner, and I got to have a small piece in all of that.
It sounds like a great experience to build what you're doing today with your current role. What all is your current role as event director at Muncie Downtown Development?
It's creating an event and executing them, making sure that they're promoted and that they go off without a hitch as best as can be expected. I'm also like a rain goddess. You know, you have to be a weather person.
It's been tough this spring.
It's been horrible.
It's been brutal.
We had 3 events in a row that were just a wash, literally a wash. But, you know, it's just part of everything that we do pretty much is outside. So it's a challenge from time to time.
Do you have a typical daily routine, or is it something 180 degrees difference every day?
You know, you go through periods of time where it's like pretty much the same thing. You go in and you get your coffee and you talk about the other things that are going on in the community, the things that are going on with the people who do business downtown, the people who we are hoping will come and do business downtown. Just, you know, you make friends with the people who are in your office. So there's a lot of chatty chat that happens at the beginning of the day. And then obviously checking emails and trying to keep up with the social media part of it. And then whatever it is that's next on your plate, just trying to prioritize which thing needs to be done next and getting it done.
Now, when you guys, I'm sure some of these events are planned out months in advance, is it just a brainstorming session of, hey, we should try to get this band in town, or we should try this event, and then it builds from there? How's that process kind of work?
At this point, we're really kind of we have sort of a set group of events that have been around for a little while. There isn't anything really new on our calendar for this year. They're all things that we've done before. So it's a matter of like really just kind of evaluating what happened last year or the last 2 years or 3 years or whatever, and seeing where you can improve on it and moving forward that way. We're looking for new events to happen downtown, but the nature of the beast is that you may want to do an event or have a brainstorm for an event or an idea or whatever, but it isn't necessarily the right time for downtown to do it. Muncie Grow was a really successful event for almost 18 years. But as downtown changed, it didn't work anymore. And so that's when you also have to decide that it's time to get rid of an event. So I don't know. They each have their own process.
What wasn't working with Muncie Grow towards the end?
Well, I think when we started Muncie Grow, downtown was empty, basically. So we invited 18 bars from across the community to come in and set up shop for the night. So it was a multi-leveled marketing idea. It was to get people downtown who had not been downtown for years and years and years, and for them to kind of to dispel the idea that there was no parking or that it wasn't safe or that it was dirty or any number of things that people, some of them were true, but some of them were also made up. So if you can create an event where 5,000 people show up in your streets and they all found a place to park, and the next morning it's all cleaned up and nobody got hurt, then it kind of helps to take care of some of those perceptions that were there. But because it all happened inside, it didn't matter what the weather was. We did it the Saturday before Fat Tuesday every year, which can change almost be a whole month difference, 6 weeks difference, depending on the lunar cycle and Easter and all that.
Yeah, it's always a
stuff.
confusing one.
Yeah. When it was all inside, it worked. As people moved downtown and started inhabiting buildings, the more and more of that moved out to the street. And we abandoned the idea of the Saturday before Fat Tuesday because it was just way too unpredictable, and pushed the date as far forward as we could, which was like the end of March, because the students were really important to that event too. And once you get past their spring break, then they start with finals and thinking about leaving, and you lose them. So I think it was just the weather's always been an issue for it, for sure. The cold is hard.
Yeah.
And it served its purpose. It really did.
That was,
it just got old. It served its job.
That was my next question. It seemed like that event really was the start of downtown growing and getting more inhabitants in the buildings and people going down on a daily or nightly basis.
It was definitely it was the first event where we really invited people to come downtown. And it completely shocked us. I mean, we expected maybe 500 people. We didn't close the street. We didn't do anything. It was the easiest event I've ever been a part of, that first one. And then it kind of grew into a monstrous thing to handle. But in the beginning, convincing people to come down and give it a try, we never thought that we literally had 5,000 people on the street. it was insane with no plan, no cleanup plan.
And there was no social media back then either.
No, it was all word of mouth. It was crazy.
You think people wanted to come down, but they needed a reason?
Yeah, I think they needed to feel invited, and that's true still to today. That I think everybody needs to. Events are a great way to do it. That they find that there's something that we do that they feel they're invited to. They might not like everything that we do or have any kind of connection to it, but at least once during the year, we want to make sure that everybody, no matter what part of Muncie they're from or whatever, that downtown's a neighborhood for everybody and they feel invited to something.
Yeah, it's got to be very rewarding for you and your crew. I mean, you guys start this event, hope 500 people show up. You get 5,000, then 18 years later, you kind of have to shut it down because there's just not room because there's business down there.
Right. It just, everything has changed dramatically that way. So, yeah, it was successful and did its job.
What kind of challenges, other than the weather, do you face planning these big events?
I think there's always just the nature of other people doing business downtown, and because downtown is made up of independent businesses. They're all independent thinkers, and they all have different formulas for what makes their business work. And our job as downtown development isn't necessarily to make their business work. It's to make downtown as a whole work, which is made up of lots of small parts. But it's hard to make everybody happy, and to make sure that you're doing something that is a benefit to the whole. You don't ever want to hurt somebody in the process. So that's always a challenge, like trying to accommodate everybody's needs and knowing that you'll never be able to.
Yeah, I was looking at your events for 2019, and it looks like you have something for everybody.
We try.
And some.
We try.
I mean, I knew, the 3 Trail Series, music series I've been to a few times, Light Up Downtown, a few there, but there's some other ones I hadn't really heard of, like Foodie Fridays. Mm-hmm. What's that all about?
We've been doing that for a few years, actually, since Cannon Commons was built.
Great addition to downtown.
Absolutely. And really after, I think, 8 years, it really has become an integral part of downtown. We don't have to, people know where it is. They know the kinds of things that happen down there. In the beginning, people were like, Cannons? You're doing something at Concannon? Like, no, it's Cannon Commons. And it took a long time to actually just get that to stick in people's brains. But Foodie Fridays evolved from what used to be brown bag lunches, mm-hmm. which happened downtown on the Courthouse Square for years. There have always been groups of people who have had an interest in downtown growing and being better and being healthy for the community. I'm lucky that I work for an organization that was finally supported by city government. We are our own not-for-profit, but we definitely are supported by the city, and it takes that. You look around Indiana in particular, we're a Main Street community, and we talk to those groups all the time, and they're volunteers, and it's really hard to get any kind of traction with a group of people that have no money to work with. So anyway, brown bag lunches were happening when my daughter was a little girl, and she's 31 years old. So they've happened for a long time. But when we decided to do another lunchtime kind of thing, directed at families that have kids that are at home, younger kids, homeschool kids, daycare kids, we've reached out to the elderly community too, just to do something during the lunchtime. But we figured a lot of younger people probably didn't even know what a brown bag lunch was. So we decided to call it Foodie Fridays because food trucks were kind of cool, and mm-hmm. we had a couple of them. We don't have a lot of them, but we have a few, enough to have 2 there every Friday from 11 to 1 o'clock. We always have activities for the kids. There's always a not-for-profit group that is featured that week, and we have live music from 12 to 1 o'clock on the stage. So if for office people, it's hard for them. I think we've fought with the idea that it's summertime and it's hot. You don't want to get all sweaty and have to go back to work. But we've tried to target some different other groups who don't necessarily have to go to work, who can enjoy that.
Yeah, I'll have to mention that to my wife. She's a stay-at-home mom with her son, and he loves, that's a big open area, and play and
Absolutely, and other kids down there too. You know,
right.
healthy for the moms and good for the kids, and it's a short period of time, but it's the right time. You can go wear them out and then take them home, put them down for a nap.
His nap time is usually 1 o'clock, so
Right.
that would be excellent.
Right.
What else do you guys have lined up this year? I saw something called Moonlight Movies.
Yeah, we do those once a month. As it happens, this year they fall on the second Saturday of the month. We start them at 6 o'clock with family events, things that kind of relate to the movie for kids to do, in part for them to also get a feeling for their downtown. One of the things I love about doing things that are for the kids is that we're helping to create a generation of kids who will actually have an experience with their downtown. I'm old enough that, like, my high school was in downtown, but downtown was failing even then. And then there's a whole generation of people, maybe even two, that had like no relationship with their downtown whatsoever because there was absolutely nothing to draw them there.
Yeah, that would be because I'm 33, and I don't remember going downtown as a kid. When I was like high school, maybe college started to. There were some more events, but as a kid, no, I don't remember ever going downtown Muncie.
Yeah, yeah. So it's hard for people who don't have, until you find another reason to as an adult, it's hard for people to find a reason to be invested in something that they have no relationship with at all. So I think a lot of what we do with the events as well, one of the great byproducts of it is to create a generation of people who do know something and can have a passion and can commit and give their time and volunteering and bring their kids downtown. That's a fabulous part. So Moonlight Movies are kind of directed towards that.
Family oriented.
Yes, they're family oriented. This year just happens to end up being the second Saturday of each month, starting June 8th. We're doing Aquaman. July 13th is The Little Mermaid, the original cartoon version. August 10th is a Jurassic Park movie. And then September 14th is Dumbo. So we'll try and, I'm not exactly sure what our activities will be yet. That's part of the brainstorming that does happen with each movie. Kind of try to come up with something that will engage the kids and the families
right
for 2 hours before the show happens. And then we have a digital screen. So we used to have to wait until it was completely dark. This year we can start at 8 o'clock. So it's not quite dark outside yet, but
where do they take place at
Cannon Commons.
Do you guys have like a
It's a digital screen, sight and sound.
Mm-hmm.
They're panels.
okay.
Go together to create a larger screen.
Gotcha. So it's just like a bunch of TVs put together in a sense.
Yeah, that make one picture.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Gotcha.
So yeah, that's coming up, and then After Hours Art Reels. I don't know if you're familiar with that one or not. They're more like cult classics. They're more of an adult sort of films. We show them on the marble wall of Mutual Federal Bank.
Mm-hmm.
Or Mutual Bank. They're not federal anymore. They're just Mutual Bank on Charles Street. So seating is at the Fickle Peach. If you're not 21, you can sit on the sidewalk outside of their seating area. But if you are 21, they happen every first Thursday. So after the gallery walks and everything downtown, this is a way to kind of cap off the evening.
Thirsty Thursdays and go to town.
Exactly.
Grab a pint and watch a movie.
Yeah.
Do you know what movies are showing this year?
I do. Baby Driver is first. And then Django, let's see what else. Reservoir Dogs and Bohemian Rhapsody.
It's awesome.
We always try to do one music video, and
Yeah.
I'm so excited for this one.
I like how you're covering family and kind of more adult in just that one asset of movies.
Yeah,
I mean, I think you'll get a lot more interest that way.
It's fun, and I think people do put them on their calendar, and if they, it's a late night, Thursday night, it's a later night, but I think people do plan on them. So
the one I'm really excited about, because I'm really into music, is your Three Trails music series.
Right.
Which I think started a few years ago, right?
It has, and it's not, Three Trails Music Series is a event that we help to facilitate at Cannon Commons, but Rick Ziegler is actually a producer of that event. He raises the money for it, he books the bands for it, and all of that. And because part of our job as downtown development is to manage Cannon Commons, any event that happens down there, we have some piece of assisting with. But there are a lot of people creating events down there that are not necessarily ours. They're somebody else's passion and energy and money that help that to happen. But the 3 trail series are amazing.
You guys bring in national acts that are tremendous.
They're all of them have national recognition. Most of them are Grammy winners of some kind. Some of them, unless you're very into a certain genre of music, you've maybe not heard of, but they're super well recognized within their genre.
Tab Benoit, I'm a huge fan of him. A lot of people hadn't heard of him. I'm like, you got to go see them. And then Chad and Stuart and those guys opened up for him. I got a chance to jam with those guys too,
which is so much fun that Rick is really cognizant of bringing in local acts or regional acts anyway to support the national acts that have been booked, and it's given a lot of people a lot of opportunity from around here to be seen by an audience that they're not all Muncie people that come to these shows. They're coming from as they follow the bands or because we're in close proximity to a lot of other major markets. They come here for that. So
yeah, if you're a big fan of something, we drive to Indy all the time for concerts. If you want to see a certain band, I'm sure they would drive up here to see them.
Exactly. Exactly.
I think it was 2 years ago you guys had Earls of Leicester.
Oh, no, I know.
I'm a huge bluegrass fan. It's seriously one of the best bluegrass bands I've ever seen.
Yep. And that space is just brilliant for it. It's a perfect intimate size. You can bring your picnic basket. You can bring your cooler with you. Again, the kids run around and play and have a great time. And we have food vendors and there's beer vendors there if you don't bring your cooler. It's a really, really good show. And the idea of the 3 trails, was named as much for the Cardinal Greenway and the Cultural Trail and the White River Greenway Trail. So as inviting people to come in and explore the other assets that we have in the community, the cultural assets that we have beyond downtown. So, come make a day of it. Come enjoy the trails that we have. Go to the art museum. Go to Minnetrista. Go have dinner downtown. Make a full day of it. So, yeah, it's a pretty cool event.
I'm excited for a few of the shows this year, especially Tommy Castro.
Yep.
If you haven't seen Tommy Castro, check him out.
Absolutely. Michael Cleveland, I don't know if you've seen him before or not.
I have not.
He's blind, and he is a virtuoso on fiddle. Like, he is absolutely amazing. He's been here before, and amazing. Absolutely amazing show.
I'm excited for it. I really hope you guys get some good weather.
Oh, gosh, I hope so, too. If we don't... that series is one where we can move it to Cornerstone. So Cornerstone is the rain location.
Which is a beautiful auditorium.
It really is. We've only had to do it one time. Bela Flack was here, and that show didn't actually get rained out, but it looked like it was going to rain. So they made the call to move it to Cornerstone, and it ended up being just amazing there. Because, again, it's a big theater, but for the number of people who showed up for that show, it was a packed house. And they sounded beautiful in there. It was just fabulous.
Yeah. Well, just having the options of entertainment around here is, people want to go out and do that stuff.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't want to drive to Indianapolis.
And they're free.
Yeah.
They're all free shows.
Bring your food, bring your cooler.
Yeah.
No reason not to go.
Mm-hmm.
Now, was it last week, 2 weeks ago, you had an arts walk?
We did.
Tried to have an arts walk?
Tried to have an arts walk. Well, we did still have it. Brink of Summer Arts Walk. So we were really trying to bookend the season with an early one in May. We may move it to June next year because this is the second year in a row that weather really has been an issue for it. But Yard is part of that, which is basically an art rummage sale. But Moth Danner hosts that, and she brings close to 150 vendors. Everything's under $40. So it makes art really accessible to a lot of different people. It brings a lot of people to that event as well. We also had the Flower Hour, which is a fundraiser for the Erskine Green Training Institute, which is at the hotel. It is a certificate program for people with disabilities. Generally speaking, they're autistic or have Down syndrome, but they can earn it's a 6-week program. They earn a certificate, and at the end of it, they're certified to work in the hospitality industry or healthcare. So it's a fundraiser for them, but the kids come out and they give away the flowers. It's a ticketed event. It's $20, and they come in and are set up at each location. So you go and you collect your bouquet throughout downtown. Yeah, it would have been really cool if it hadn't rained, but we
Yeah.
moved everything inside, so everything got to happen. It's so hard when you can envision something, how it's going to look when it's on the street. And we had maypoles and ribbons and dancers and all kinds of fabulous stuff, and it would have really been a buzz. But yeah, weather.
Yeah.
So
It's been tough on everywhere this year.
yep.
Now, another one I came across was the Gobble and Wobble.
The Gobble Wobble.
That
Yeah,
sounds like an adult event.
it is. Well, we tie it into Small Business Saturday. So
Okay.
if you've got money and you're little, you can be a part of that too. But yeah, it's the day after Thanksgiving, or the Saturday after Thanksgiving. So 2 days, which is Small Business Saturday as well. So basically, you get a punch card and you visit 6 locations, whether they're eateries or breweries or retail spaces, and you make a purchase. It doesn't matter how big your purchase is, but if you make a purchase at each of those locations, then you take a photograph of your card and you put it on our Facebook event page, and the first 10 people win a downtown hoodie valued at $40.
Very good looking hoodie.
Thank you.
You're sporting one right now.
Thank you. Yep. And they're different every year. We have new color, and so you can tell people who have gone out and done their downtown thing throughout the next year, they're really proud of their hoodies. And then I think the next 20 people, we have T-shirts, Gobble Wobble T-shirts for. But it's a great way to get out and explore downtown, and you're probably sick of your family by then anyway. So
It's time to get out of the house
Yeah,
and have a
absolutely.
couple drinks and do a little walk and absolutely get that turkey off of you.
uh-huh.
The last one I saw, we actually took my son last year, was the Light Up Downtown. That was a neat event.
Yeah, it's fun. This last year we were able to have a tree sponsored that actually sings and dances and does all kinds of weird, crazy things with lights. That was very, very awesome. Do the countdown and light up the Christmas tree. This year the event went through. That was sort of the kickoff to it, and then every night between Light Up Downtown and New Year's Day, the tree did its little half an hour thing every night for a half an hour. So people would come downtown, and a lot of people had no idea about it too. So we had several near wrecks at Cannon Commons, but for people like, what is happening?
They're already confused
And
with the
it's-
roundabout.
Yes, and they're just coming out of the roundabout or going into it, and then there's this singing, flashing Christmas tree over to the right. But I think people started to get the idea that there was something that happened nightly, and it was just it's a great festive way to.
Yeah, we had
be
a
a
lot
part
of
of
fun.
things.
There was a little tractor with train, like
Had
the
the
kids would get
train.
pulled, and there were people singing, and you had some stuff under tent.
Yeah, the Makers Market,
Yes.
which is a little more curated version of Yart. I think there are maybe 50 makers that are a part of that market, but a great time to shop for holiday gifts. And it's just kind of the kickoff to the shopping season downtown, too. It's also on a first Thursday, so there are gallery openings going on and lots of fun.
You moved here, like you said, to go to college. What was it about Muncie that kind of wanted to make you stay here? Because, I mean, I love this town. A lot of this podcast is promoting the positive of this town, but we all know it's had its problems. And like you talked about, downtown 20 years ago was not desirable
No,
to
not
go
at all.
to. I mean, other than the Herat back then, you really didn't have a lot.
The Mark and the Herat really were
Right.
the only two things after dark downtown at all.
So what made you kind of say, hey, I want to be here, and two, I want to do something to help build this up?
Muncie just gave me opportunities one after another. I mean, like I said, I had a lot of different jobs. FB was one that I would say was different maybe from the other ones that I had, because that was a fabulous learning experience for me from a creative and a business perspective. But the other jobs were, I don't know. There was always something that intrigued me that was an opportunity for me. And when this job came along, I've been doing this for 18 years now. So I've been here for a good part of the development of it. But my friend Brian Lau was hired as the Downtown Development Director, and we had been friends for years from Civic Theater and other things in town, and he advertised for a job for an office manager, and I was like, well, I could do that. I've got the experience to be able to do that, and I love downtown. I've raised my kids basically downtown. I know a lot of people down here, and I'd really like to see it grow. And so I went and I applied for that job, and he said, nope, I don't think he'd be really that great at that. And he said, but I want to create a position for you. We need to do this marketing piece, and I think that you would be really good at being a event manager. I was like, well, that's not something I've ever done before, but I'm willing to try. And as it turned out, it was a great thing for me, and I had more experience than I realized that I had. And it was really the beginning point for downtown, for what it's grown into now. We still have a ways to go. Downtown's never done. It's always going to be.
No, but it's night and day from what it was.
Yeah.
You guys have done an excellent job, and it's a place, not just me and my wife, but we know a lot of people that, hey, we're going to go downtown this weekend and go have a couple of beers at a brewery, go to a restaurant, do some shopping. And it's a place when we have friends, because my wife and I both went to school in Ohio where we met. When we have friends come visit, we take them downtown.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a lot of people's investment and hard work and belief. And I guess that is part of what your original question was, what made me stay. And it's being able to make a difference here. You know, it's not a really big pond, but it's a really deep one, you know, and you can put your roots down as far as you want to here and grow. It has done that for me. It's given my adult life some really serious meaning that I don't know I would have had someplace else.
Do you think, obviously, hosting these events got people downtown? What other factors have led to downtown kind of getting rejuvenated?
I think for sure the fact that there are places to live downtown. With the first phase of renovation, downtown really became apartments. There weren't on Walnut Street before. So there really has been kind of a neighborhood that's been created too, and I think that makes a huge difference. And just sending your message out over and over and over and over and over again, as many ways as you can. Some people do live under rocks, and you'll never be able to, they'll never hear you. But the people that do energize that place and make it what it is today.
Yeah, the persistence of you guys is just keeping at it, putting events up. And I'm sure there's been some trials and errors, but
oh, for sure. Yeah.
The overall effect has been excellent. Any upcoming events or future plans that might not be on this year's calendar, but maybe in the next couple of years you guys are looking to do, whether it's an event or some sort of activities?
Well, this year we do have, and this is new, and it comes as a collaboration with the Community Enhancement Group Up All State, IPR, and all that. June 6th, we're doing Muncie Mystery, which is kind of like a clue-based sort of activity. Again, it's a first Thursday, and it's coming together really fast. We're just now getting it together, but it'll be its first year, and I think that'll be something that will kind of take off too. Music for All is on campus at the end of July. That's a band camp, basically, with people from all over the United States that come here, and they also have a great music program that is open to the community through that week that they're here. I think that we would like to work with Muncie Arts and Culture Council to create an arts event at the end of their week when the parents come to pick up their kids and all of that. A reason for them to stay another night in Muncie. And take advantage of some of the musical talent that they have with that too. So that's sort of looking into the future next year. I know that there's a group locally that is planning on a Pride Festival in 2020 that won't necessarily be ours, but we'll definitely have a piece of that. Next Muncie, I don't know if you've heard a lot about that, but it really is it's a group of community leaders that represent Ball State, IU Health, foundations, downtown, looking at a master plan for the center city, which is downtown, and moving that forward, taking all of those assets that each group brings to the table and actually creating a long-term plan that everybody will benefit from. So those are big conversations that are happening that I think that we'll see some fabulous stuff come from. Hopefully some more housing downtown will come from that with the riverfront development as part of all of that. There's just a ton of pieces and a ton of great energy going into them. So it's next Muncie. It'll be the next step.
It sounds like a great collaboration with all the different groups, whether it be the city of Muncie, your guys' group, Ball State, I think would be important to have on board.
IU Health,
Cornerstone, all of
it.
And I think it takes a community to get where you guys are going to
absolutely
want to be.
Where we all want to be, So, yeah, feel really lucky to be involved in that.
It's so nice to go down and walk downtown, and all the patios are full. People are eating, having drinks, in and out of shops. And me and my wife are big on supporting local, so we like going down there. I mean, we've done the Pottery. We're obviously at Peach, all the bars. Mm-hmm. So to see what you guys have done, it's been very, very fun for a Muncie native like myself.
We count on you guys.
We'll be there. So obviously you're busy all the time with downtown work. What do you do outside of work?
Well, I just bought a new house this last year in October. So, making that a home has been a obviously overwhelming task, but a priority and a fun one. I love to decorate.
Did you move out of downtown?
I did. I moved down to North Street. So I made my block, instead of 2 blocks wide, it's like maybe 8 blocks bigger now. So I still am a 3-minute drive from work.
There you go.
But it was time to stop renting and to have a house. So I've been working really hard on that. I love to garden. I like to cook. I like to go to the Peach. I love live music.
Well, it's neat. You're creating a downtown that
serves my interest,
the stuff that
right?
you enjoy. Yeah, it's probably why you're so passionate about it.
It does, yeah, and brings other people that I like to be around. So
that's great.
We're doing this all for me, John.
Hey, everyone else likes it. If everyone else likes it, that's all that matters. Well, it's really great to talk to you. Like I said, we moved back here about 10 years ago, and it wasn't a place we went. We went elsewhere and spent our money and time, and now it's kind of where we want to go. And it's through hard work from you and your people and a lot of people in Muncie.
Well, that makes me very happy. Makes my heart warm.
We, like I said, it's a place we like to show off when we got friends from out of town, because a town this size doesn't have a lot of towns in the Rust Belt like us don't have the downtowns like they used to anymore.
Yep, and if it's healthy, the rest of the community will be healthier too. So that is really kind of the idea.
And obviously, you're great at marketing network. Everyone I've talked to, because they always ask who my next guest on the podcast. I'm like, oh, Cheryl Crowder's this week. Oh, I know Cheryl from here, or I know her from there. I mean, everyone in town seems to know Cheryl.
I've just been here a long time.
Like I said, everyone I talk to says, yeah, I know Cheryl. She'll be a great guest. So, Cheryl, thank you so much for your time.
Oh.
And thank you for all your hard work. I know a lot of people in Muncie really appreciate it. And I always tell people, if they say there's nothing to do in Muncie, they're not looking hard enough, because there is.
That's absolutely the truth. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. As always, you can contact me via email, jakeswillpodcast@gmail.com, and I'm on Instagram and Facebook. Just search the Jake Swill Podcast. Thanks.